do come through the program, one thing that we do notice is that we have an economic dilemma. Not only that, we have an educational dilemma, and we have a personal dilemma. The economic dilemma is that mom and daddy might be incarcerated or have been incarcerated. It's hard for them to get a job and provide for their family with those felonies on their background. Juveniles are not able to have any employment because of their age, or they're just not jobs that's willing to give them a chance or to try them out. When we look at the economics, most in the black community, not many of them is making more than minimum wage because of the educational background of where they don't have a great education. When we look at a lot of schools in our black community, especially here in Nashville, their test scores are so much lower than schools that are outside of the demographic of where we live at in the poverty places in Nashville that we are. And the personal issue that I see is that because of the parents and what they are accustomed to, what they have been taught, what they have gone through in their lives, they're teaching their kids the same thing. So they're just prone to what they've been taught, what they see, their environment, and it's causing a dilemma with our black males because they're becoming what their environment is. And I just believe if we had a better economical system for our black community with great educational background there to support them to be able to get their economical ways together, I think the personal problem with the parenting and the child would be totally different. But that's what we deal with a lot of times. We find that the parents are not as involved and engaged in their life as they should be. We care more for the kids than they do. They drop them off at the front door, they leave them. They don't come inside to see what the program is about. A lot of times they might not even drop them off. They give them a little bit of bus fare and tell them to get there the best way they can. So I think there's a big overall picture that we can't just key in on one point dealing with the dilemma with our young black males in America.
You know, Bishop Campbell, what I'd like to understand, and perhaps you might be able to give us some information in reference to this, do you think it would be cost effective for our governmental officials to provide our young men and women with some kind of employment instead of simply refusing to do anything in that direction? Do you think that that would help us out?
It would help us greatly. You know, being in the faith-based community, we have a saying of what we say is the idle mind is the devil's workshop. And I believe that these young teenagers, our juveniles, had an opportunity of employment, that it would teach them leadership, teach them responsibility, give them a great reference, a great start in their life, to show them that you have to work for what you want and not go out and take it from somebody else or selling to destroy somebody else's life to be able to benefit your own pocket.
What about you, Brother Waller?
Dr. Haney, what I know about the youth and people as a whole in our community, it's a trap. And what happens when a trap is set for you, you don't see the trap. And once you're captured into the trap, such as I was, I didn't even know I was in a trap because the things that I was trapped in was attractive. So we have to be mindful of what we do in front of others. People were doing things that had my attention, and it caused me to desire to be into what they were doing. And after doing so, and then got captured, it was like, this is a wonderful thing. I'm getting high, I'm getting money, I understand the language, but it's one thing that I didn't know, and that is that the trap was so powerful that once you get in it, there's an enemy, and you have to do his will. And I was that person that came to my senses, as the Word of God says, after you had come to your senses and escaped the snare, the trap of the devil, having been taken captive by him to do his will. So once a person is trapped, they're going to do his will. Now, what we have to do is bring forth great information that's so powerful that they would miss the trap. Now, after I was released from the bondage that I was in, I was told to go back to my community, in which I had made so effective in the unrighteous path that people followed me, admired what I was doing, but I was in a trap. So I caused so many people to be in a trap with me And he's sending me right back out there to get the people that's still out there out of the trap. And that's my responsibility. And I've written a book that's entitled Still High, one of the greatest books that I think that could help our communities and get people back into the swing of what we really need. And that's my desire, and that's why I'm out in the streets. New Way Outreach Ministry is a ministry that reaches out. Don't be inside of the building. I'm outside where the people are that's hurting, that's crying for help. And my encouragement to the people that's in the church, come out of the building. You never know the importance
And
of
so the idea of the book, Still High,
Yeah.
is to indicate that you are still high, but you're high on something outside of what you were generally high on, and the experience is greater,
Much greater.
with being still high than it was during the earlier parts of your situation. Is that what you're saying in
That's what
reference
I'm
to that?
saying, and it don't cost you a dime to keep this high once you learn about it. And it has so much information that the same enemy that captured me don't want nobody to get this book. This book been out since 2013, and I believe Nashville should be flooded with the book. If you want to see a difference, you never know until you try it.
And I think some of the problems that we're talking about here are not problems that are limited in terms of the African-American experience and the African-American male, because in a real sense, getting high in the other sense is a national problem now, which is to say that more people are dying of cocaine and et cetera than in automobile accidents and et cetera. And so I think what you have there as a book is something that is very, very valuable and needed in terms of the kind of situations that we find, not African-American males, but African-Americans, other groups, and all of them find the same problems, the same challenges, and et cetera. And so what we're going to do, RWaller, we're going to take this second commercial break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to start with you doing this last 10-minute segment and then go down. And we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. If they see things, they need a job, they need to have some money.
Yeah.
And if you had some way of knowing on Saturday you're going to get $55 or $60 or whatever, you could do something with that.
That's true.
But
It's hard telling the teenagers, drop your gang flag, put the dope down, if you can't give them means to be able to provide. You know, it's hard to do.
And that's hard enough for me to understand that our leaders and state legislature folks can't even understand that it's much more cost effective to do it that way. Than, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's amazing how they go.
Well, anyway, Reverend, we're going to start with you when we come back during this second segment. We'll have 10 minutes, and then you take about 3 minutes of it, and you take about 3 minutes of it, then we'll do the last couple of minutes, and then end it out for the day. But this is exactly, I think that this is this kind of information is people need to know this. I think people know it, but it needs somebody to come to pull it all together and make them understand that.
That's what it's about.
Just so many lives are simply being disrupted and destroyed in terms of what we're doing here.
It really is.
So,
it definitely.
And so, Pastor, we'll start with you.
All
so,
right.
You know what we're doing. Just pick it up and deal with how this take about 3 or 4 minutes. So, Wallace,
It's going to be.
Let the bishop close us out.
All right.
That what we'll put together.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be great. 30 seconds. Okay.
Yeah, I like this show. Thank you and welcome back to the final segment of the show for today. We're talking to Pastor Walker.